And now for a fact, this is going to be a fun one. We have 80 out of 100. Or we have 8/10. I mean, we could put the 0 there if we wanted to, but we don't need to because, like I showed you on our daily ticker, 8/10 is the same thing as 80/100, which is the same thing as 800,000ths. And this could go on to infinity. So we don't really need these zeros. If it makes you, because I kind of got confused this morning, had a mental lapse there, and sometimes putting that 80 there can help. So you don't do that, or I don't do that. And we also know that it can be written as a percent, which is 80%. And as I showed you on the ticker, 80% and 8%, there's a big difference. I mean, look, 8% was way back here. This would have been 8%. And I confused momentarily 8% for 80%. Look how much of a difference that is. So don't do my mistake. Remember, the place values are reminded to you in the 2 zeros in the percent sign. So if you have a decimal and you're converting a decimal to a percent, just move it over 2 spaces so it can be accounted for the 2 place values in percent. So that would mean 80/100ths is the same thing as 80%. Now, if you don't have the 0 there, which we didn't this morning, which kind of, was the cause of my mental lapse, you have to remember to move the decimal point over 2 spaces here. And then you put your 0 in there, and then that would be the 80%. Okay? But as far as simplifying, well, that's easy. Whoop! Because I know they're even rows of 10. Or if I didn't want to do that and I wanted to do it mathematically, naturally I know that since they both end in zeros, they both have factors of 10. So instead of just swiping it, I'm going to go 80 divided by 10 is 8, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. But they're still even, so I know I can keep cutting them in half. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So what would this mean when we're talking about our greatest common factor? Our greatest common factor is what we can multiply to get to our simplest form. Well, since I did one here, 10, and then I did a 2, because I did it in these 2 steps, I just multiply those factors. So 10 times 2 would be 20. So my greatest common factor would be 20. And just to show you that that would work out, my brain just didn't see 20 off the bat. So your brain might do it a little bit differently. But if your brain went right to 20, 80 divided by 20 is 4. And 100 divided by 20 is 5. So if you made a list of all the factors and you circled 20 as its greatest common factor, then you would know and you wouldn't have to do that extra step. But my brain likes to do it the other way. I like to go whoop and cut it in half. And to show you what it looks like here, 100, if we cut it up into groups of 5, we have, actually I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to cut it up this way, this way, this way, and this way. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. Can you see the whole now, instead of being cut up into 100, because I simplified and divided by 20, I put each block in groups of 20. Now I have 5 equal groups of 20. And how many of these do I have? Well, I have 4 of them. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. All of this is a 4/5. Well, looky over here. It's the same thing as 40 out of 100. But see, isn't 4/5 so much easier to comprehend? That's why we call it simplification of fractions. And just to show you that we can do the same thing here to make sure we get it correct, this is a division problem. Remember, in a fraction, this bar right here and these 2 dots, they represent the digits that are there. So you read it 4 divided by 5. And you can do this with any fraction. And when you do this, you find the percent. Because watch what happens when you divide the bottom into the top. So 4 divided by 5. Well, I can't divide 4 evenly into 5, can I? You probably noticed that. I can't do it. So what do I have to do? I have to cut the 4 up into 100 pieces. And how do I cut up 4 into 100 pieces? I put my decimal point and I put my 2 place value markers to the 100th place value. My decimal comes like a bubble, bloop, 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 up to the top. Well, now we go. Here we go. 5, can it go into 4? No, it can't. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. That's 0. The 0 comes down. 0. Oh, looky dooky. We have 80 or 8/10. Can you see that? Isn't that neat? And you can do this with any fraction. You have a fraction of any kind. You want to find out what percentage of girls there are in your family? You just make a fraction. The denominator is how many people in your family. If you have 5 people in your family, that's the denominator. How many girls are there? Oh, there are 3. So your fraction would be 3/5. You divide the bottom and the top, and now you can figure out what percent of your family is girls. And you can do that with anything, any fraction. Hope you have fun with that. Go around your household and maybe look at your plate when you're eating dinner, and you can find out the percentage. You can do it with your teeth. Look at your teeth and figure out how many teeth you have in your mouth that are for vegetables. And then make the fraction. The total number of teeth you have being the denominator, the number of teeth you have that should be for vegetables is your numerator, and that will give you a percent of how many vegetables you should be eating. You could do the same thing. I mean, you have fun with it. You can do the shirts, buttons. How many buttons do you have? How many are open? I mean, there are so many examples. It would be neat if on your daily lesson plan, but go ahead and put one of those fractions in that you made from your house and what percent you came up with. This should really open up your eyes to using fractions to find percents. And it's a really fun part of math. Have fun.